and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, she, he, and this is Literally Graphic. And today I am flipping through I Know What I Am, The Life and Times of Artemisia Gentileschi by Gina Siciliano, a graphic biography published by Fantagraphics in 2019. Not a translated comic, but I decided to slot it in anyway because I wanted to read it as quickly after I read the French comic Artemisia by Nathalie Farlou and Tamia Bowden, and didn't really have anywhere else to fit it in. Link to that review in the cards. Content notes: nudity, sex, torture, gory decapitation, rape trials, manipulating children, false accusations of promiscuity, loss of children, and adultery. As far as level of violence goes, it is not a graphic horror book, but it can get intense at times, and I'm including the rape scenes in there too. According to a brief write-up on Fantagraphics.com, Gina Siciliano, quote, is an artist and musician living in Seattle, Washington. She graduated from Pacific Northwest College of Arts in Portland, Oregon in 2007. End quote. What kinds of keywords came to mind reading this tome? Italy, city-states, swimming upstream, troubled families, brutal violence, talking heads, lines, and glass ceilings. Clicking over to Goodreads, they have the summary, quote, in 17th century Rome, where women are expected to be chaste and yet are viewed as prey by powerful men, the extraordinary painter Artemisia Gentileschi fends off constant sexual advances as she works to become one of the greatest painters of her generation. Frustrated by the hypocritical social mores of her day, Gentileschi releases her anguish through her paintings and against all odds becomes a groundbreaking artist. Meticulously rendered in ballpoint pen, this gripping graphic biography serves as an art history lesson and coming-of-age story. Resonant in the #MeToo era, I Know What I Am highlights a fierce artist who stood up to a shameful social status quo. End quote. Highlighting the art, I both enjoyed it and had a difficult time focusing on it. On the one hand, I love black and white art, and the quality of the line was really nice because there was cross-hatching! Lol. It became a bit hard to focus on because Siciliano had a tendency to fall into very simple and rhythmic page layouts, which is certainly a classic move, but particularly during some of the trial scenes, it has a lot of heads and boxes that were all about the same size. But yeah, a very classic move, and more my problem than its, honestly. Writing-wise, I was really impressed with I Know What I Am. It really hit the spot for me. As far as taking a figure I was generally familiar with, presented a fairly straightforward plotline, which was nice in comparison to the somewhat convoluted plot in the French comic, and really built out the world around Artemisia. Of course, there are a number of times in the story that didn't literally happen, but are used by Siciliano to summarize things that happened. There's also some speculation, although Siciliano does have a thorough list detailing her choices in the back of the book. Certainly closer to the ignorant noob side of things rather than an expert, I do feel like this comic is a bit more approachable and will appeal to a somewhat larger spectrum of people interested in reading more about Artemisia. As I always say, queer people have existed throughout time and space, but I'm not surprised we didn't see any here. Gender and sexuality, while very cis and hetero, is definitely one of the bigger focuses of this book. Published in 2019, Siciliano was heavily influenced by the more modern discourse and activism around rape. It was interesting to read some of the notes in the back where she talks about how some have argued that this sort of view is anachronistic. I would tend to agree with her judgment that it is not. Just because they didn't use modern jargon doesn't mean that the patriarchy and rape culture was not alive and well in Artemisia's lifetime. And Siciliano does a really good job, in my opinion, of illustrating the ways these commonalities look extremely different in Artemisia's time as compared to now. Race seemed one note. Class came up in some interesting ways, whether it be the debt of a husband, debt for materials, patronage, and the financial implications of marrying off your daughters. As far as ability and disability went, it largely felt avoided. Several people are tortured and seem to move along fairly quickly, back to life as normal. If that is reality, sure, but a bit more exploration of the physical impacts might have been an easy way to highlight the ways our bodies fall short of maintaining perfect ability 100% of the time. We do see the ravages of the plague through the children lost. To conclude, a very satisfying and interesting read. I'll definitely be recommending it to anyone even close to interested in this sort of thing. 4 to 5 stars. By all, keep reading an organized and capitalist oppression. And Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders. which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, an Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.